Now, Terrence Crutcher was having an issue that I'm sure many of us have faced. On Friday, while driving home, Terrence's SUV stalled out in the middle of the road. Okay, his car broke down. Now, Crutcher is a 40-year-old father of 4, and he had been studying music appreciation at Tulsa County College when he started having some car trouble on the way home. Now, after stopped in the middle of the road, police had actually came to check it out. Now, there's no problem there, right? Look, that SUV is in the middle of the road. It's a hazard. And the police came to check it out to see if everything's all right. No problem, right? They're here to help. They're here to see what the problem is and to render assistance. At least that's what they should be. Now, police spokeswoman Jan McKenzie had told reporters that after the officers had arrived, one of them I identified as Officer Betty Shelby, they had arrived and they were walking towards the stalled-out SUV when Crutcher had approached them from the side of the road. Now, presumably to ask for help, right? Well, that's what you do. Your car's broke down. Somebody comes to investigate. Hey, man, my car broke down. I'm waiting for a wrecker. I'm waiting for something. I trying to get a contact with my family, see what they can do. I'm having a bad day. Right? Now, when the cops arrived, that's when things went very, very wrong. Now, McKenzie had said, quote, he refused to follow the commands given by the officers. They continued to talk to him. He continued not to listen and follow any commands. As they got closer to the vehicle, he supposedly reached inside the vehicle, and at that time, there was a taser deployment, and a short time later, there was one shot fired. Now, that shot happened to be fatal. Now, listening to McKenzie and the police account, you would get the impression that Betty Shelby and the other officers were in mortal danger of being killed. In fact, that's what her lawyer is claiming. In an interview, Officer Shelby's lawyer, Scott Wood, said the officer had thought that Mr. Crutcher had a weapon. Mr. Wood said that Mr. Crutcher had acted erratically, refused to comply with several orders, tried to put his hand in his pocket, and reached inside his car window before he was shot. So that's the police account, right? Now, later on in the article, it is noted that Shelby had requested backup because she was not having cooperation from him. Now, cooperation, right? Now, this was not a traffic stop. This was someone who had the misfortune of having his car break down in the middle of the road. So, why was there cooperation? If the officer was there to render assistance, to render help in getting this car off the road, well, then what need was there for cooperation? Now, look, I'm giving you all this information, all this context, so that I can show you a video of what happened as soon as the backup had arrived for that non-cooperative person named Terrence Crutcher. Let's watch.
It's Jan, Nikki 6. James Hetfield is sitting in with us tonight. Speaking of pleasing your fans and always being their band, do you find it really hard?
Which way are they facing?
Now?
They're facing westbound. I think he may have just been tasered. Shots fired! At 321, we have shots fired. We have one suspect down. We need him to here.
My sanity, my body, if my body and spirit goes.
Please, well, we're going to need to get eastbound 36th Street door. Actually, just going to need 36th Street door shut down. That's Lewis, and then probably back off about 3 or 4 blocks to the west of there.
That's what we're up for. So I tell you, that is the coolest part about being a band, is playing live.
So that was difficult to watch, right? And it was also hard to see. But look, it's pretty noticeable. He had his hands up, at least until he got to the car, and then the officers had obscured the view. So you couldn't tell whether or not he had his hands in the car from that certain view. That's from the dash cam video of one of those police cruisers. Now, we didn't see anything before that because these officers are not required to wear body cameras. And the earlier dash cam from the officer who was there first was not turned on. So we don't know what happened before. We don't know any of the context, any of the conversation that happened. All we know is what that video is telling us. And the video is showing us that he had his hands up. Okay. Now, not only that, right? But when he was pressed up against the car, he was first tased and then shot when he was on the ground. Now, I don't know about you, but somebody who is tased and on the ground is much less of a threat. In fact, is not as much of a threat as somebody who's standing up and reaching into their pocket or reaching into their car, as Mackenzie had pretty much claimed, right? They're not a threat anymore. They're subdued. There's no reason to shoot them. But that's what happened. Now, why would they shoot them anyway? Especially when he seems like he was subdued. Well, there's another video here that I have, which will give you some insight into what the responding officers were thinking. Let's take a look at that.
This guy's still walking and following commands.
Time for taser, I think.
Got a feeling that's about to happen.
That looks like a bad dude, too, to be honest with you.
Which way are they facing?
Police 1, they're facing westbound. I think he may have just been tasered.
Shots fired!
Ooh.
321, we have shots fired. We have one suspect down.
I
We
need
need
to-
to enter here.
They need to get this eastbound closed down if they could, because they're not going to be able to let anybody.
Okay.
We're still walking, following commands. You heard that, officer. It's time to taser him. I think it's time to taser him. Because why? Well, he looks like a bad dude. Really? He looks like a bad dude. Now, by the way, this is from helicopter footage. Yes, they called in a helicopter for a broken down motorist. No, I can't understand at all why black people are afraid of the cops. They called in a helicopter. But look, you can see him up against the SUV in this video with his hands up. Now, there was a man that deployed a taser, right? And that man is Tyler Turnbow, right? He was the one who tased Crutcher. And then, of course, Officer Shelby had taken the fatal shot. Now, if you're getting tased, and you could kind of see it in the video where he jerked a little bit or reached down, well, that might be because he was being tased. Although you couldn't really tell, right? Now, the other thing is the commentary, right? I mentioned it. He looks like a bad dude. He's probably on something. He looks like a bad dude. What could possibly make him look like a bad dude? What makes him a bad dude? Tell me. What is that? Now, look, there are right-wingers that have already looked up his record, right? Now, what does he have in his record? It's the first thing they always go to. A couple of speeding tickets and an arrest for having a concealed weapon without a permit 20 years ago. 20 years ago. Ooh, 20 years ago. He did something wrong. 20 years ago. Now, Shelby claimed that she fired because he might have been reaching for a weapon. Okay, well, did they find a weapon? Tulsa's police chief Chuck Jordan told a news conference on Monday that Mr. Crutcher was unarmed and did not have a weapon in the vehicle. So what was he reaching for, as some claim? Well, there's nothing to reach for. This is another example of the cop shooting an unarmed black man for seemingly no other reason than just because he's black. He looks like a bad dude. Look, this guy, he wasn't a criminal. He wasn't a thug. His car broke down on the way home from school. He was not stopped for any reason. And so there was no reason that I could think of for the police to start issuing orders. Hey, is everything okay? Do you have a tow truck coming? Can I give you a ride home? This is the stuff that if you're an officer, you should ask. For somebody who's broke down, hey, can I help you? Can I give you a hand? I'm here to protect and serve, right? Not shoot you, not give you orders. because you broke down. Let me give you a couple of personal stories here, right? So I was not a very responsible person when I was younger. Now, when I was a teenager, my license was actually suspended because I didn't pay a speeding ticket, right? I had no insurance. I had no business being in a car or being on a road. But I drove my car to school. And it was in the middle of the winter. And when driving to the career center, I hit a patch of black ice. And I went into a ditch. Now, I was unharmed. The car was unharmed. I was just stuck in a ditch. Okay? Now, on that road, there was a state trooper that stopped. He stopped and he asked me, "Hey, man, are you all right? Is everything okay? Do you need help or what's going on?" Now, he stayed in his car. I walked right up to the window, right? I told him, "Nope, no problem." I lied to him. I told him, "Everything's fine. I've got a tow coming," which I did. I had a friend that was going to pull me out, and he did. No problem, right? You know what he said? "Have a nice day, sir." He rolled up his window and drove off. Didn't get out of the car. Now, what would have happened if I were black? Don't know. Don't know. I have another example. My car stalled out on the way to work on the side of the road. Now, this is when I was legal. I had insurance. I had all my stuff together, right? I had a sheriff pull up and he asked me, "Hey, is everything okay?" He not only asked if everything was okay, but he also offered me a ride to the nearest gas station to use their phone. No problem, right? It's great. I took the offer, rode in the back. We had some laughs, had a little conversation, and then he said good day, and then I walked the rest of the way to work. Other stories. Borrowed my father's van. Had some really loose, sloppy steering. Okay? And I was driving down the road. No problem. But since the steering was so sloppy, I was weaving back and forth just a little bit. I got pulled over. Officer asked me, "Hey, have you had anything to drink?" "No, sir." "Have a nice day. Be careful." Another story. I was leaving work for lunch one day. Hit a patch of ice, almost hit a van. There was a cop on that road. He pulls up. I roll my window down and he laughs. "Going a little fast there, aren't you? You might want to be a little bit more careful. Have a nice day." Now, the reason that I'm telling you all these stories about my personal interactions with police is that there are people who don't understand why black people get shot in these same situations, right? You could have a same interaction with the officer, or you can have a completely different experience with an officer. And see, black people in America, they don't have that same experience that I do. Think about anybody in any of those experiences that I laid out, that I personally have, where instead of me, it was a black person, or if I were black, would that have turned out the same? If you're saying no, then there's a good example of white privilege. That's what white privilege is. What I've experienced with police is not the same as what other people have experienced based on the color of my skin. It is not the same. Being black in America means that right now you can break down on the side of the road and get killed for it. And anyone who doesn't understand the outrage on the internet, when an unarmed black man is shot and killed, who doesn't understand why the black community, in some cases, hates and fears the police, who doesn't understand why Kaepernick and some of the others that have taken a knee or have sat down during the national anthem, doesn't realize what it means to be a black man in America. And how just a normal thing that can happen to anybody, like breaking down, can turn into a deadly situation. Things have got to change. It's got to change. Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more like this, please hit the subscribe button below. And if you want to support truly independent, non-corporate media, go to our Patreon page and become a patron. patreon.com/TYTNation.